So I have a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, and now a 2-year-old as well. I got married. The marriage only lasted for 8 months. Yeah, when I met my husband, it was online. I had a coworker who was into it. She was going on dates and stuff, and I've only been divorced for 3 to 4 years now. My coworker, she was talking to me about it and saying, yeah, you should try it. And I was just about to get off. I was about to sign off on it because I was meeting a lot of people long distance. I didn't want to do a long distance relationship. I met people who felt like I was a catfish, and I just didn't have time for it, you know. And he texted me and we decided to go on a date, and first thing I noticed was that he lied about his height. It wasn't that big of a difference, but that was the first thing that kind of stood out to me. On our date, another thing that threw me off was like we were sitting in the booth and he was talking, and then the next thing I know, he's sinking, literally sinking in his seat until he's lounged like this, laying in his seat. And I'm like, that is so weird. Like, why are you lounging in your seat? You know, like, what grown man is... He was a business owner, and he is. So I guess that was like a check mark. He can have like a really cool and calm demeanor, so it'll make you think that, you know, he's cool, calm, and collected. But really, he turned out to be pretty emotional. Where I thought it was just like a worry. I didn't realize it was like a bad case of the worries. He would rant and complain about his employees, about the AC and how they turn it on, and he wants to keep it at a certain level. He has to pay the bills for it, and you know, those kind of things. And I thought they were valid issues. He would hire someone and not give them a chance to really get on their feet and want to fire them. And I would talk to him about, you know, giving them a chance and things like that. He liked to go out of town and do things, and that was okay with me. It became bothersome though, because he wanted to do it every weekend. It was just about him and how he needed some rest and he needed to relax. And it wasn't like, oh, let's all go have fun and do something, you know. It was, I need to go get away. I'm gonna tell you how I found out he was cheating. I went to his job to see him, probably to bring him lunch. One of his employees told me that he was out of town with someone else. And it was a male employee. I think he wanted to tell me because his employees actually didn't like him. They were quitting, like one after the other. So were quitting or he was firing them. I called him. He did admit it. And then I told him, you know, I can't do this anymore. I don't like it. He's a liar. We talked afterwards. He said it was immaturity. And he would go on trips out of town. He said to see his son, and then I found out that he was actually cheating with the best friend that he had in Texas. So he actually proposed to me right after I found out, and he was like, I already talked to your mom about it, about proposing to you, and you know, I really do love you. I want to be married, and you know, I just have to get through this immaturity. It's just immaturity. And so I said yes, but that we would have to go through counseling. So we went through the marriage counseling. That was a mess. The marriage counselor was like, Africa, maybe you should just like not do this right now. Because his issue, like I said, he worried so much. But I thought that, you know, once he does it, then he'll be fine. He and my mother, because they had gotten to be chum friends, decided that I needed to make a wedding, set the date. And it needed to happen sooner than later. So I set the date. But I wanted to wait before I even set a date. I wanted to get a feel for things because I knew what was going on in the relationship. Let's take our time. We might have been engaged for 6 months. I was so embarrassed by the ring. I was like, I had to keep looking at it. I was like, is it really as small as I think it? Like, okay, I would say it was maybe the size of 5 grains of salt. Like, I showed it to my cousins and they were like, oh. And I didn't want to make it like size mattered, but he always said, oh, when I get married, I'm gonna have a nice size ring. I'm gonna buy my wife a nice size ring and all of that. And it wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. So it was kind of like a slap in the face to me, because it's one thing if you can't afford it. Like, you might not even be able to afford a ring. And that's one thing if you know that it's not affordable. But it's another thing when you know that it is. That's when you're supposed to say no. When we went to go get the marriage license lady looked at me. She was like, like going through the motion, like, girl, are you serious? What it was is like he was having a hard time filling out the paperwork. And I was about to leave right there. And I did storm out and he came chasing after me. But I went through the process of filling out the paperwork. But I thought that he was just insecure with making decisions, and that I could show him that this is a great decision. Like, once we go through with this, you will see, like, you asked me to marry you. So I invited no one to my wedding. Not a single person. I didn't even want to have a wedding. But my mom pressured me into that. Oh, you don't have enough money to have a wedding? I mean, how much we can put it together. How much do you think you need to build a wedding together? I'm like, I just want to go to the courthouse. If you go to the courthouse, then I'm going to tell your aunts and your uncles and your cousins and everybody, we're all going to be at the courthouse. So I wasn't telling anyone that I was, about to get married or engaged. I mean, the ring was so small, you couldn't even see the ring. So I didn't tell anyone. My bridesmaids were my girls and one of my sisters that I told. The one that asked me, are you sure about this? And I was like, well, in relationships, you're gonna have to deal with things, and cheating can be one of those things. And, it's not something to necessarily leave the relationship for. You can work through it. The honeymoon was a mess. He was like, why don't you watch TV in there and I'm going to watch TV out here. He was on his phone. He didn't want to spend any of the wedding gifts. Like, guys, when I tell you that I cooked on my honeymoon, it's so sad. It is so sad. Right after the honeymoon, a woman ended up calling my phone asking me if we were really married. She was like, I'm his friend, and I was just wondering, is he married? He refuses to let me know, to tell me if he's married or not. But I think he's married. Is he really married? He called me one time when I was cooking and he was on his way home from work. Hey, I just wanted to let you know, did anybody call you? Because it's all lies. This girl trying to set me up. And nobody had called me. Like, we would go to church together, and if I was 10 minutes later than he wanted to leave, he would leave, and I would have to meet him at church, me and my girls. He wouldn't have the patience to say, oh, the wife is late, and he would sit there and wait for his wife. No. He would leave in a huff. But when you're supposed to be in the honeymoon phase and everything, and you're newly married, and you show up at the church where you got married at, and then you can't even show up together, I was so sad about that, because that's not what I wanted in my marriage. I wanted to go to church with my husband and my girls. I wanted to show my girls what love looked like at that age in their lives, to be able to finally do that. Like, that was a goal for me, and I couldn't do it. It was the complete opposite. And it's all because of how I chose to move forward with someone that I shouldn't have moved forward with. At work, I would go to work. I'm newly married. Listen, I told no one, because the relationship was already so rocky, and I was not confident about the marriage. I wasn't confident about any of it because he was so off and on with it. So I wasn't even sure we would even make it to the wedding day. He already had a house that we moved into. He didn't want me to do anything to the house. Like, repaint the walls that were yellow. Spruce it up. That's something that you would think that a husband would want from his wife, to come in and spruce things up a little. But I could clean it. On my off days, I would go and take him breakfast. I would cook him breakfast. Do you think he did anything for me on his off days? It was ghost town on his off days. And he was off on Sundays and Mondays. So I would be at work on a Monday. I wouldn't hear from him. Nothing. There was never any give back. Nothing. The last straw was when his mother did pass. And that was sad, and I tried to be there for him. And he had women calling him to give him condolences and stuff. And, you know, he wouldn't let me answer his phone to, you know, while he's bawling, you know, to let someone know what was going on. And I could just hear them on the other end. What's wrong? What's going on? What's wrong? You know, I talked to him. I was like, can it ever be just you and I? Because he would get relationship advice from other women, and he would tell me this. He would get relationship advice from the men at his job. So we were having one of those talks, and then I was driving the car, and then I parked the car at the house, and then as soon as I took my foot off the brake, he punched me in my face. I didn't even see it coming. He walked out of the car, closed the door like it was nothing, went in the house, and I'm just sitting there stunned with my mouth hanging open. And the thing about it is, before this happened, I told my mom, I was like, Mom, we need to separate. Like, just let me come and stay with you for a little while. Well, what's a little while, Africa? If you're going to leave your husband, and you have to know that you're going to leave him. I'm like, I can't say that I'm going to leave him. We're married. We just need some space because things are like not good right now. I wasn't sure how bad it was going to get. I was like, I've got to leave him. That's it. So that weekend, we moved out. No more drama. Then all of the waterworks came in. He was crying. Couldn't believe it. I would leave him. But he's not mad at me, though. He forgives me. He's going through a hard time. Have you ever been punched in your face when you didn't see it coming? My mom, she's like, why didn't you hit him back? Like, this is not Ike and Tina Turner, okay? Like, what am I fighting for? To get back at him so I can stay? Hired one of those free lawyers. He had a lawyer, wanted to make sure I didn't want anything. I didn't want anything. Now I kind of wish that I did because I literally have nothing. He was renovating his house, so I bought a bathtub, a sink, in the vanity, a couch, an outdoor shed, and I left with nothing. Like right now, I don't have. I gave all of my, when I moved, I gave away everything because, you know, we didn't need two of everything. Let's just say I have not recovered. I have not recovered. So it's sad. When you have children, that's a lot. It's so pathetic. I left. I did not turn around to look back. He was begging and pleading. He was sending gifts. I'm like, this is the most gifts this man ever sent me. Like before, he could think of nothing to give me. Oh, I can't think of anything. Like for Christmas, he gave me hubcaps. I literally thought that he would think of something to get me for Christmas. Like I didn't think that he would not know anything to get me for Christmas, right? And I even talked to my dad during the marriage. I was like, Dad, like he's cheating on me. I'm going to his job and, you know, taking him breakfast. I take him lunch. I would drive across town. I would even leave my job sometimes and take him lunch. My dad's like, just keep doing what you're doing, Africa. Just do your part. We divorced. He ended up hiring my divorce lawyer during our divorce. He's like, well, you shouldn't trust him. You know, you shouldn't go back because, you know, they're gonna do it again. If they, every case I've seen, I can give you, you know, the number to some advocates and things. I called them, and you know, they're warning me, don't go back because these are the statistics and stuff like that. I believed it. I said that's why I left immediately. Okay, I'm on the right track. I didn't press charges. I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to leave. Turned out to be a mistake. After the divorce, he was like, wow, I can't believe you actually did it. You know, we didn't even go to counseling. You know, that's the least we could have done. During my therapy though, just before COVID happened, that's when he was talking to me. My therapist was talking to me about my standards and how I said I never wanted to divorce, but here I am on the fast track to divorce. And you know, no one could justify his actions, but everyone was saying that I shouldn't give up so quickly. I was looking at a bunch of stuff, rhetoric on YouTube, and you know, there are a lot of angry black men out there, and they're mad because they're saying that black women are quick to divorce and that we can't blame them when we know who they are beforehand. And that kind of hit me because I did feel guilty. Like, okay, you went into this, your sister asked you, are you sure? You said yes, that you were willing to work it out. I really thought I could. I thought I had the temperance. I thought I had the disposition to do it, to work through it. But I had never been married, and I thought that would take things to a different level in me. Well, my daughter, who's 19 now, she must have been 16 at the time, but she was like, I'm gonna do a background check on him. So she did the background check, and come to find out, he has done this before. And then I was able to tell my lawyer this, and she was like, okay, so you're supposed to do at our age, at your age, once you hit after, you know, this certain age, you're supposed to do the background check before you get married, not after. She ended up representing him during our divorce to handle his mother's estate. Now, he had his own lawyer, so why he had to ask mine, I don't know. Once she did that, I told her, I don't trust you anymore. I didn't fire her though, but I felt really bad about that. He didn't even mention through the divorce paperwork that it ended due to domestic violence. And I don't remember us talking about it, you know, I don't remember it. But I thought it would have been mentioned. Yeah. 2 years after the divorce, he called me on my birthday. Now, I had blocked him, or maybe I unblocked him because I felt guilty about the fact that I had never gave him closure, or, you know, I never gave him the counseling. I was online looking at all of the talk about black women and black men and relationships and why they fail from a black man's perspective. And I guess I just kind of felt guilty for leaving a relationship so quick. And then, of course, I had the church, I had my mom, I had, you know, felt guilty after the conversation I had with my sister about how I was gonna fight through it all. It was only one time, he punched me in the face. So he called me 2 years later on my birthday and asked if he could take me out for dinner on my birthday. Still no friends, nothing to do, back to my usual, just managing my girls, not going out, not doing anything for my birthday, just like I did this year, just like I do every other year, just like I did with him. So I said yes. We went to dinner. It was not a bad dinner. Now, at this time, I had 3 jobs because, you know, I was starting over. And I was working out. I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was doing the same thing, you know, trying to work out, getting myself back together. because that's my default. I know that it starts with my physical, it gets to my mental, I have to build myself up. I was like, well, you need to go to individual counseling, because he had been wanting to go to the couples counseling. And I'm like, you need to go to your own counseling. What is it that happened in your life that makes you so unstable emotionally? Why do you do the things that you do? Why is your temperament so bad? And then he told me that his father tried to kill him when he was young, shooting at him, tried to kill him, that he was an alcoholic. And I was like, really? I was like, you never told me this. Like, I knew about the mom, how she neglected him, because he said that she left, and it's not like she had to go to work and she left him at his grandmother's for that, but that she wanted to be in the streets. So, and I wasn't really sure like what that meant. Like, what do you mean? Like on drugs in the streets, or like, but I guess just meaning didn't want to sit home and be committed to raising a child. And then his father, he went to his father's, and then he tried to kill him. And he had to run to a neighbor's house, in order to escape death. But I was like, you need to go to your own therapy. Like me, I'm going to therapy for myself to figure out why I keep choosing, people like you. Typically men who have issues with their mothers. That's what I figured out. And listen, I know the saying. I've been knowing the saying since I was a little girl, that how a man would treat you based on how they treat their mother. And I even told him that, because his mother, he and his mother did not have a good relationship at all. Like, he would call and cuss his mother out because she would ask for money. And listen, on the day that his mother died, he cussed her out bad. She called me crying on the day that she died. She was calling me, he was calling me, his brother were calling me while I was at work about this whole interaction they were having, because my ex-husband, is the one that makes money. He's the business owner. His brother is, I don't know if I should say handicapped, but he's sick. And the mother, she was just not on her feet. So she would always ask for money. The brother's always asking for something. And then he would be busy at work all the time. So he'll just cuss people out and hang up the phone because he doesn't have time for it. So they would call me to complain about him. And then she was calling me crying. I was trying to talk to her. I get off the phone, go back to work, it's not lunch break. It's not even break time. So I'm back and forth, and I'm like, you know what? I can't answer the phone anymore. You guys have to deal with it. The next hour, I got a call. She was gone. So I was like, listen, you need to get therapy. And then second of all, you're going to have to admit to me that I'm not the only person, the only woman that you have been violent with. Because he wanted to maintain that. Oh, yeah, you're the first one. And that's something that they do. You're always the first one and the only one that drove them mad and caused them to punch you in the face. So he admitted that. He said that he would go get therapy, that he was in therapy. Long story short, I broke my standards, because I'm like, I'm definitely not being intimate with anybody until I'm married. So 2 years later, I still hadn't been with anyone. I hadn't dated anyone. I was completely into my girls and their schedules and managing them and their lives and feeling sorry for myself and trying to get out of that, working out, trying to figure out why I make the decisions that I make, why why these kind of men, that kind of thing. And then I think just feeling guilty, I allowed myself back into that situation to be vulnerable with him. And then I was like, well, I hadn't been with anyone else, and this is my ex-husband. Listen, he wasted no time to completely let go. And I knew, I was like, oh my God, you did not do that. I knew it. And I was so free. Like when I was, those first 2 years, I was like, oh my God, it's so good. I'm happy he never wanted children. I'm happy we did not do that. I am free of him. I never saw him, never ran into him. It was great. Like that next week, I got upset with him. I told him about it, about how I felt. He blocked me. Probably that next week, I was sick as a dog. Went to the doctor, found out that we had conceived. So, yeah, I'm in my 40s going through child custody. Now, does it feel good to get all of that out? I don't know. I feel like this small. But one thing that I think I got out of all of it is an understanding and appreciation for God. Because on not one part of that did he leave me on my own. Like I had all of the signs, all of the red flags, all of the knowledge to know better. I really did. Even if I had never been married, even if my parents had never been married, there's enough information, there had been enough information that I had learned over my lifetime from other people, from reading, from watching, from looking and listening to know better. So I'm paying for it. And then the whole being intimate before marriage and all of that, because as women, you know, we have to pay a big price. Even men, you know, there's a heavy price to pay. And it's not fair for the child that may be conceived through the mess, through your bad decision making. It's not fair to them. And it's not fair to you and your journey and where you're going and where you were planning to go and your whole life, your future. It's just a big price to pay for all of us. And so that's why I do believe that we should wait till we're married. If you marry with full and clear understanding and good intentions, then it's less likely you'll end up in a situation like mine, so that you can share a child and so that you're not on your own raising a child. And so that you're not sharing a child with someone who may be demented and deranged and crazy and stupid. Take your time. It's not worth the rush. You know your relationship better than anyone else can know your relationship. You know, you have to act on that, what you do know, not what you don't know. And I have always said that if you're not sure, if you're uncertain, then don't move. Be still. That's the best way to move. If you're not sure, don't make a decision about it. Especially when it's costly. When your life depends on it. Most definitely not. Just let it sit there and wait. Sometimes you have to let people know how stupid you've been. And it's like, it just reflects back on me. Because no matter how wishy-washy he is or was and is, no matter how indecisive he is as a man, which is terrible if he's supposed to lead a family, it all reflects back on me. There's only so much dogging out I can do. That's why it's even hard to dog him out, because really you're the one that signed the deal, and that's the hard part.